Welcome to the 27th episode of the Loose Hands of the Faith Football Podcast. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great, Hayden. How are you?
Good, how are you? I'm doing tremendous. I mean, wait, I already screwed it up. That's okay. We're talking about the Houston Texans today, so I mean, me screwing up, geez, I mean, really,
Tom
it
Brand.
just fits the mold for what we're talking about today, because this is a mess.
Oh yeah.
This is a dumpster fire, to just be completely honest.
Yep.
Don't necessarily like to say that, but I don't know if there's many other words to describe the situation there at this point.
Yeah. It is not optimal. I feel bad for David Culley because he's just going to be the sacrificial lamb for that organization. He is going to just, well, what are we supposed to do? We hired a guy whose highest experience is like wide receiver coach.
Okay, well, yeah, Andy's the wide receiver coach for the worst passing team in the league. But besides that, like, what did they do? Did they just go? I mean, I've heard of this concept before, but I didn't think that anybody actually does it. Does anybody actually hire somebody to get fired? Like it's just like, okay, there's kind of a period now where it's like we don't have a first round draft. We don't even have a first round or a second round draft pick this year, and now we gotta try to figure out what's going on here. Like, are they actually just hiring David Culley to fire him like within a year or two, or what?
I think it's just we needed to find a head coach, and he was the only one that would take the job. That might be it.
I mean, I wouldn't be necessarily shocked by that because it's gross. It is not an attractive offer.
Yeah.
Even if you're a coordinator somewhere, I think I'd rather be a coordinator most places than head there to be a head coach. But I mean,
Yeah.
at least like not from the perspective of being a head coach of like a team that doesn't have a lot of talent, because obviously you have to try to build it up. But I mean, just the perspective of how the rest of the organization is ran, it's like, yeah, I don't know if I'd trust anybody else in the building that's above me.
Yeah, I think David Culley might have just done it because it'd be a good career move, not losing, but just he might be able to upgrade himself from position coach to coordinator after he gets demoted from head coach.
Well, David Culley may also be doing it because I swear I don't know how old he actually is, but looking at him, he looks like he's ready to like fall to pieces. From what I remember,
Yeah,
he
last hurrah.
looked pretty old, right? So he's just like well, if I go head coach for 2 years, even if I get fired, I was planning to retire after 2 years anyways, and then I maximize my more money as a head
Yeah,
coach, right?
yeah, that might be it too.
All right. What do you want me to lead in today on what my thoughts were for the season?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, sure.
it's really fun talking about these guys because there's just so much like stuff that like I can't really say. So because just players moving on and other things like that. So I mean, season notes. Just I'm like forgetting who the receivers even were on this team before I like started watching again today. It's like, oh yeah, Randall Cobb, Will Fuller, Kenny Stills, and Brandon Cooks are all on this team at the start of the year. It's pretty interesting, the receiving core they've got there, and I feel like they're pretty talented. Deshaun Watson was getting terrorized basically all season from every spot on the defensive line, basically all over. I think we still trust Lermy Tunsil, but like that's maybe it.
Yeah,
I
he's
have to
one step
say,
of the line.
yeah,
It's
yeah, I have to say, I watched the Steelers game for one of the games that I watched, and it was not enjoyable football at all for either team. Like it was just like, oh, geez, what am I looking at here? The defense really played fine. They just got dink and dunk to death in the Steelers game specifically, and that didn't really happen in the other games I saw. Just notable for that game. Somebody has to block the outside pass rush off the right edge because they seemingly just had guys coming free like all the time off the right edge, just unblocked. Nobody even touched him. It's like, oh wow, that's really great. Then the Patriots just the whole game just killed them on play action. Like no matter
yeah,
how they were using it, they just got absolutely whooped in it. Brandon Cooks will forever be a forgotten wide receiver and just keep playing at a mid to high tier, as a mid to high tier player. But I mean, nobody's ever gonna be like, oh, attention. And geez, if there's somewhere for him to go to be forgotten, it's Houston at this point, because I'm sure he'll be there for the next 5 years while they're rebuilding, trying to figure things out. Where it's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Also, noticed a strange thing where even though the Texans are not a good team, the teams that were playing against them were running like as many fakes as they possibly could of like any manner at all. So like the Patriots did and the Lions did, and it was weird. I like Jordan Akins, but they just seem to sub their tight ends in and out all the time, which isn't bad because they've kind of got some decent tight end depth. But I don't know. I feel like if I was a quarterback, I would just say eventually to the like coaches, like, choose a guy so I can have a better connection with somebody over someone else, because they're just constantly moving those guys around, and I don't know how much they like that. Also, Kiki Kuti is like a decent wide receiver, but it's just weird. It's just such a weird receiving core last season, and now it's kind of changed up a bit. I didn't notice Duke Johnson's step on the field until like I was 2 games into watching them, and considering how much of a talent I think he is, that's really dumb. But I don't think they think as highly of him as I do. It felt like Will Fuller was definitely the favorite receiver on the team, but he didn't really. He didn't play every game this season. He only played 11 games, I think. So I was like, okay. And actually, after the Pittsburgh game, they actually played short crossing routes really well, but then they were still getting killed in the screen game. So it was kind of like a different version of a short passing game that was killing them. Yeah, and then I said the Lions were trying to pull off trick plays too. I didn't see these guys get a turnover until the 3rd game that I went back and watched. Like I said, I watched 4 back for this, and it wasn't until the Lions game and J.J. Watt got the pick, and of course, he's gone now. I didn't even know C.J. Prosise was on this team last year. I found that out because I probably would have known had I watched the Thanksgiving game, but I was lazy on Thanksgiving, and Texans Lions didn't excite me, so I didn't even wake up till halftime was here. Then best receiving back in the league being Duke Johnson scored a 40-yard touchdown on a go route. Like, no running backs score touchdowns on go routes when they actually get flexed out. They're just out there so that a linebacker has to walk out there, and that's it. It was nice to actually see that get used, but I mean, we know that's not going to happen again. They may have ran one of the worst attempts at a screen I've ever seen. Like, it looked like they were supposed to get like 4 guys didn't block, so like 4 guys looked like they were supposed to like release out and try to get in front of the running back, and then only one of them actually did, and then they didn't even complete the pass to the running back. It was just disgusting looking. Here's a question for you. Sorry, I try to include these so I'm not just rambling as much, but today I didn't get as many questions, and I just really have one. So, do you think kickers that are like good kickers in the NFL, like they know they're not like on the chopping block at all, they know they have a job like every week, like a Justin Tucker or a Matt Prater or somebody like that, do you think that they want to be on a bad team?
No.
I don't know if they'd want to be on a good team.
I don't think kickers are like wide receivers and they're stat chasers and they're like, yeah, I want to make 15 field goals a game.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like the prospect of like being a kicker on a really crappy team.
Do you mean like the stakes aren't as high for them?
Yeah, it's just like
okay.
It's just like I'm gonna make the same amount each year. My bonus probably wasn't gonna be that big if we made the playoffs, and by not making the playoffs, I don't have to deal with any high pressure field goals ever. It's like, I think that would be a great job. That's almost as good as backup quarterback, honestly. Just be a great kicker on a really crappy team. I actually liked the Texans' defensive scheme this season, but like it's just they don't have any playmakers. Like, who do I want to pick out and say is a playmaker for them? Like Justin Reed, Bradley Roby. I don't think those are really names that I want to have stick out. Here's another fun thing to point out. Week 16, the last game that I watched for them, Bengals Texans. That was on Fox, Sunday afternoon game. Two AFC teams. It was on Fox. I wish I understood what the broadcasting rules were. Brandon Cooks still cooks. Just had to note that because underrated. And then they also had like the worst play action setups I've ever seen.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah, I noticed that.
They freaking have like play action like off like a fake, maybe a zone run to the right or like a fake power run to the right, and then it sets back up center, but all the lines going to the right. So then they have like a guard pull back to like block the end that's on the side they're like play actioning towards, even though the quarterback's just like setting up like dead center from where the ball was snapped. This guard has to fly over there, and basically every time he's just diving at the ankles of the edge defender because he's so far away from him. It looks ridiculous. Also, I think the Texans' color rush uniforms are ugly. That's really important in deciphering whether or not the team will be any good next season. I couldn't win in those things. I mean, they're not. I hate it because they're not even that different from the normal uniforms. They just look crappier having the red colored numbers than the white colored numbers. I don't get that.
Yeah, I mean, like Dion said, look good, feel good, play good, pay good.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be feeling good in that, to be honest. And then last few things, I have no idea what to actually think of David Johnson. The tight end with the last name Brown, I can't remember.
Barrow?
Yes, I think so. I'm not 100% on that because I feel like that was a wide receiver's name a while back too.
Barrow Cooper is the wide receiver.
Yeah. Okay, it was Philly Brown.
Oh, okay.
And then Fells too. Like all their tight ends are decent. They also had a decent lateral toss around against the Bengals in like an end of the game lateral situation until a guard got the ball in his hands and just didn't lateral it at all, just like kept trying to run up the field. So that was a nice ending. Oh, and Deshaun Watson is good, but I don't think he's going to be on the team.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest problem for them.
Yeah,
because they might be able to squeak out wins next season if they had him, just on him forcing them to victory on his own. But without him, and with who's going to be under center as a big question that's up in the air, it's gonna be rough.
Yeah, no, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. You got anything else on there?
Yeah, just looking at their statistics, they were like just keeping their heads above water from being like in the bottom like quarter of stats, which was weird because like their offense was good just because statistically, just because of what Deshaun Watson was doing and the numbers he was putting up.
Yep.
But defense was not that great. Their overall team ranking was very bad. And something that I noticed when I was going through and watching some games, their return game and looking at stats, their return game was terrible, which I find it really funny that they made it a mission to get Andre Roberts in free agency to boost that return game, boost their special teams up. They might have one of the best special teams units, return wise next season with him, but everything else is going to be atrocious. It'd be funny to see them get like a game-winning return touchdown by Andre Roberts, have him bust one of those out.
Yeah, when they go 1-16 next season and their only win is on the last play of the game, some team scored to take the lead 24-20, and there's 4 seconds left, and they kick it to Andre Roberts, and he brings it back for 6. Game's over. Yeah, that would be exciting. It's week 15. They're 0. They're 0-13 at this point.
That would be the way to do it. That'd be the way to do it. But Romeo Crennel did all he could with that team, and I applaud him for that because, I mean, there's no way Romeo Crennel should be coaching. I fear that he would have a heart attack. That was my biggest thing all season was like, this team's going to give Romeo Crennel a heart attack, and he's just a gem for the NFL, and I don't want that to happen to him.
When did I'm gonna remember his name. Why am I Bill O'Brien get fired?
Uh,
Was
well,
it? It was
the
early in the
team was,
season.
yeah, it was after week 4, he got fired.
They were 0-4 at that point.
Yes, they were 0-4.
That sounds about right. Um, yeah, I got some notes for their stats. Liked David Johnson had 4.7 yards per carry on 147 attempts, which I thought was pretty solid. Um, Cooks had 81 catches for 1,150 yards, which yardage wise, that's really good. But I think Fuller would have passed him if Fuller played more than 11 games because Fuller was at 879.
Hmm.
I said they could use a boost in the return game, and they got Roberts, so obviously that's fine. Kaimi Fairbairn seems like a fine kicker to me. And then these two notes right here is kind of why like I applaud someone like when we talked about Jacksonville before in drafting players that are not only good players at positions but players that create turnovers because I don't know if you looked at this, but do you have any idea how many turnovers these guys forced last year?
I saw the their leader in like forced fumbles only had 2,
Yeah.
and they let him go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't that much.
Yeah. How many? Take a gander. What do you think it was?
12.
9. The
Yikes.
whole year. They got
Yikes.
9. They got 3 interceptions all season, and they recovered 6 fumbles. That's
That's bad.
atrocious.
Yeah.
That's why when I say like I don't know, like Jags getting somebody like Andre Cisco, like yeah, go get a guy that can get the ball because holy crap, these teams that are bad, a lot of these teams that are bad, not just because they don't have good players, but geez, if you're better in the turnover game, like holy crap, you could be a lot better of a football team. It makes a huge difference. 9 turnovers, that's barely one every other game. Barely. It's
Yeah.
like, jeez. And then the only guys who like had any sack production were Watt and what's the other kid's name? I say kid, even though I say old guy. Whitney Merciless. They're the only guys who had more than like 2.5 sacks. Um, and then Zach Cunningham and Tyrell Adams were both guys who surpassed 100 tackles. And guess what? For the Texans, just like the Jets, the only guy that I found out about that I started liking, like that I didn't know existed by going back and checking out a little bit of the game. And it wasn't like a heavy liking, but it was more than a lot of the other guys on the field, was Tyrell Adams. I thought he was playing pretty well for what he was doing. And of course, he left the team now too. So, I mean, it's just standard issue that I'll find some guy I like and somebody else will pay him more and immediately leave the team.
Hey,
Um,
but he's on the Bills now, though.
he signed with the Bills?
Yeah.
Was it? Really?
Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't even realize that. I was just looking at the fact that you know what I do? I go on Spot Track and then I look at the like to column. So I look at the guys that are going to Houston and the guys that are not going to Houston, and I just look at the names when I'm
Mm.
sorting. So I'm just like, oh, it doesn't say Houston. Like I'm not actually paying attention. Wow, okay, well that's exciting that he's on our team. I'm happy about that then actually. um, Zach Cunningham had 7 TFLs, which was like the second best on the team, while J.J. Watt had 14 and just like not even touching anybody. And Watt's, of course, gone. Also, J.J. Watt tied for the team lead in passes defended at 7 with Roby and Hargreaves. Oh, I could also mention that since they only had 3 interceptions this season, he tied for the team league and lead in interceptions because he got that one. So,
Yeah.
I mean, literally they're losing like 50% of their defense just by losing J.J. Watt when he's not even playing at like his highest level he's ever played at, which is just absolutely ridiculous. And my last statistical note isn't actually have any specific stats in it, but it's just the fact that I do like Justin Reed as well, and he does a little bit of everything, and he's a noteworthy player, but not really anything. He didn't lead, I don't think he led the team in any stats specifically, so it wasn't like I wanted to point anything out, but he was a high ranker in basically every statistical category.
All right. You want to move on to free agent signings and guys that left and guys that are still unsigned?
Yeah, you can go ahead with some of those you got.
Okay, so for their notable signings, I first guy I had to mention was Ty God Taylor. They brought him in to probably be their starting quarterback. Uh, for 1 year, 5.5 million. Another guy that I already mentioned before, boost their special teams. Andre Roberts, bringing him in 2 years, 5.5 million. They get Philip Lindsay for an already crowded running back room at the time that they signed him because they brought in Mark Ingram also. Uh, Philip Lindsay's going in at 1 year, 3.25 million. Ingram's going in 1 year, 2.5 million. They get Christian Kirksey, which I thought was a good signing, to replace Tyrell Adams, who left. 1 year, 3 million. They re-signed Pharaoh Brown because Darren Fells left, so they keep one of their good tight ends around, and they brought in Desmond King.
Hang on,
I
hang on,
don't.
hang on. They kept two of their three mediocre tight ends. I that's a key point in
Okay.
something I say later. So I mean,
Oh, okay. Uh, just I had Pharaoh Brown as the more notable of the three of them, with Darren Fells leaving, and then Desmond King goes there on a 1 year, $3 million deal. I don't know why Desmond King did that to himself. Uh, Teams just need to open up their wallets a little bit more so guys like him don't have to go to rotten
the
football
the
purgatory.
the fact that I'm looking at the Texans and I'm saying this team is a dumpster fire, but they got the deal of the offseason signing Desmond King for $3.5 million is I just hate myself. Like I'm like, what is going on here? Why is this happening?
Yeah,
I don't
it's
get that one at all. That one cannot make any sense to me. It won't. It doesn't like compute in my brain.
maybe Desmond King just wants to be a number one corner.
Yeah, I don't know. They I've got a few more. Did you have any more?
No, that's it for my notable
Okay.
guys.
Literally today, they signed Neville Hewitt, who I was saying
Oh,
was the good Jets linebacker. So now it's just like now they're just like loading up on linebackers, and I'm like, okay, I thought you had like one fill in. You didn't fill in with any great player, but instead of that, now you just have like some of the best like interior linebacker depth in the league, but I don't know how much that's going to help you get wins. Like
hmm
even if three guys get injured, you still should be okay, but like you don't have some baller interior linebacker, and even if you did, I don't know how much that would even if you paid one of these guys and they did become a baller interior linebacker, I really don't know how much of a difference it would make. Sorry, but I just don't know how much of an impact they can make just individually by themselves. So the depth is really good there, but honestly, I don't know why they're throwing so many people at interior linebacker because it's not even like last season. Like two of the best players on the team were interior linebackers, so
yeah.
it's not even like it was necessarily a huge position of need. It only became a position of need because they decided to let one of the guys go, and instead of re-signing him, they signed back 12 other guys to fill in his spot. Like
hmm
I don't know what's going on there. Then they're like one of the most trade heavy teams this offseason, actually, at least from what I remember. They got Marcus Cannon from New England, which I really like because like I noted that right edge rush was just getting there all the time. That was absolutely atrocious what was happening to them. Um, and they didn't get a lot of sacks, so they trade for Shaq Lawson as well, which is good because they need more edge help, I'd say, especially to replace J.J. Watt. But I don't know if it'll be. I mean, depth that position, I would say the depth is more important. Also, just the fact that like I can't even really think of that many guys that would be starters for that team. So that was kind of important to get him just to make it a little bit better of a situation to replace Watt. Obviously, not even close to the same player, but it improves it slightly. And then they trade for Ryan Izzo to have a third mediocre tight end. They really couldn't live without a third mediocre tight end because they're going to be having a lot of three tight end sets on the field all the time. And then also they traded for Ryan Finley, who kind of had a decent little point of the season last year for the Bengals when he stepped into the games. So yeah, you want to move on to some losses because I've only got four.
Oh, I have a couple more than that. For I have Darren Fells going to Detroit. That's kind of a big hit for the offense. He was one of the more productive pass catchers on that team. Brian Anger left to Dallas, so they lose a good punter, which is something they're going to need because they're going to be bad. So field position is going to be a problem for them because they lose one of the better punters in the NFL. Uh, AJ McCarron, who I think is better than the quarterback that they drafted, and better
That's
than Ryan Finley too, I'd say.
that's fair. I don't know about better than Ryan Finley. I wouldn't. I really wouldn't want to. I don't want to argue about that, but like I also don't. I'm not going to say that AJ McCarron is miles better than Ryan Finley.
No, I think he would provide some good depth to that quarterback room that they let him go to Atlanta now, so he's going to be a Matt Schaub replacement there. JJ Watt leaves for Arizona. Will Fuller leaves to Miami. Nick Martin goes to Vegas, so they're losing other solid contributors to that offensive line, even when it was already bad. So it's like you shored up your tackles, but everything on the inside is real iffy now. And Tyrell Adams goes to Buffalo, so they took a big hit.
Yeah. I got Tyrell Adams, like you just said, J.J. Watt, Duke Johnson, and Will Fuller. Duke Johnson hasn't signed anywhere. They don't need Duke Johnson, but Duke Johnson's a good player, and I don't know what's going on with him.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know why Miami's trying to build just a speed machine. I really don't know why that's what they're going for now. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah.
Some other like notable guys that I had unsigned. I had Duke Johnson there. Josh McCown, I think, is going to start being like an assistant offensive coordinator or like an offensive coordinator there or something. I heard that he's going to be moved up into the coaching staff, which I mean, good for him, but he's unsigned. So it'd be funny if a team like picks him up if he's still like a free agent or whatever and he doesn't officially retire. Chad Hansen, who contributed for them late in the season at wide receiver when most of their guys got hurt, he's unsigned. I don't know why they wouldn't bring him back in. He was a solid contributor for that team. He's a fan favorite. Like his story. Don't know why they haven't brought him back in. And then Conley. He is also not signed, and he was some decent depth for that secondary. And they're making a lot of the wrong moves, I think, with what they've the losses that they're taking and the people that they're signing, and where their money's being allocated to. In the off season.
I don't know it's really weird. Like this team doesn't have like any insane talent at any positions. And then they're just like they're like strangely picking where they're adding people. And I'm like, I don't like the position. I don't think it's bad to not. Oh, geez, this is so weird. I don't think it's bad to sign guys that aren't X Factor superstar players in the NFL. Like you need those guys on your roster to build an all around team. But geez, they're not like doing it in like I don't think this is going to come together well. I mean,
no.
We watched it last season with how many wins they got with Deshaun Watson playing out of his mind, trying to do everything by himself seemingly on the offensive side of the ball. That's at least how it felt. I don't know. Maybe you could say it was a little bit less than that, but geez, that's how it's felt. And I mean, I enjoy watching Tyrod Taylor, but I'm expecting him to be the starter most of the year, and I really don't know how that's gonna be effective. Be as effective as Deshaun Watson was. I would have to say that I would expect that to drop off.
Mm-hmm. And but Tyrod has a good situation because David Culley was the quarterback's coach while he was in Buffalo. So I don't think it's going to be one of those things of, oh my God, we're losing a bunch of games. Get Tyrod out of there. Put Davis Mills in. Because I think with any other team, that could happen week like 10, 11-ish. It's like, we still haven't won a game. We need to try something different. Put Davis Mills in there. I don't think David Culley's going to fall to that. I think he's going to stay tight with Tyrod. And the only time Davis Mills or Ryan Finley would get in there is if he gets hurt.
You want to talk about some of these draft picks so that I can just straight up... Because, I mean, we're talking about Davis Mills, but...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So draft-wise, the Davis Mills, this is just a terrible idea with how much Deshaun Watson was running for his life. How the heck do you go and look at, like... We had Mac Jones, when Mac Jones is a high ranked quarterback, you knew you weren't going to get him. And then the only like mid round to even late round talent quarterback that is a pocket passer is Davis Mills. And you looked at your team and said, yeah, our line can hold up. He's going to get crushed if he ever steps on the field. This is idiotic. This is so stupid. And not only that, but he's a pocket passer that I'm like not impressed with at all. Like I don't know why you would want this guy. This is a stupid pick in my opinion. And then you want me to keep going through my guys, and then you can just run back through. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nico Collins, I like his size and speed, but I don't know how needy they are at the receiver position. They've kind of got guys there. And then what kind of ends up happening is later they picked up 2 UDFA receivers too, and it was just they're just looking for, I guess, a different archetype of receiver because they've kind of got all the small, speedy guys now. They're looking for guys with like more weight on them and a little bit more of body players, I guess. So that's okay, but I don't know how much like having a different body type at the receiver position will help you. They're going to at least give it a shot, but I definitely would have rather seen like some O-linemen get picked here, really beef up that up front. And then now, since they traded for Ryan Izzo, they have 3 mediocre tight ends, and what do? Then they're like, okay, now we need a 4th mediocre tight end. Brevin Jordan, bring him in. Like, we don't think he's going to be an insane talent, but why would Brevin Jordan go to a team that is like just like the most random tight end depth ever, rather than there's so many teams that actually need tight ends, and one of the teams that chooses him is this team that doesn't need tight ends. They just don't have a great one. I can't believe that they actually are selling themselves on the fact that they think Brevin Jordan is going to become great. Garrett Wallow, I just watched him, linebacker from TCU, I think. I was really impressed. I liked how he played. The only problem is this is another place where they've taken man, what's a good like analogy for this? It's like a piece of duct tape was holding something together before, and they went to the store and bought like tubes of glue, then another roll of duct tape, and another, like, I don't even know, like Flex Seal or something. They brought like 3 different things where one piece of duct tape was working before, and then they were like, this thing's really going to hold this time. They put the glue on, then they duct tape the whole roll of duct tape over it, and then they go Flex Seal on top of that. It's just like, what are you compounding? This doesn't help you. You're going linebacker when you just added 12 interior linebackers in free agency. This doesn't make any sense at all. Then, finally, I have a pick that I actually will give them credit for, which is Ray Lopez. He was an interior defensive lineman, and that's kind of a position that I definitely feel they could have used some help at because, man, nobody had any sort of statistics at all popping up at all that was playing interior defensive line for them. Ray Lopez is a Danny Shelton type of guy where he eats up the middle, and he's just what they needed there. That's good. Then unrestricted free agents, undrafted rookie free agents. They got a guy by the name of Marlon Williams, who has like the goofiest highlight reel I've ever seen. Like just weird stuff happening like in every play that he's involved in. But I mean, once again, he fits that like kind of heavier body type receiver mold, and so does Damon Hazelton, who's the other guy they got. He's got the weight, but he's also got a little more height at 6'3". And then after the draft is over, they finally decide to address the O-line a little bit and sign 2 undrafted free agent linemen. This roster is just so weird to look at, and I don't see like any game changers on it at all. Like the biggest one is Brandon Cooks, and like that's not enough excitement. Or like there's just not enough talent on this team for me to like expect much out of them at all. Unless David Culley is just the most surprisingly good head coach we have seen in NFL history, and/or Tyrod Taylor just game manages so well where like there's games where some other quarterback turns the ball over 3 times and he doesn't turn the ball over at all, and they're able to win something like 20-17 in those games. Those are like the only 2 ways I see them like pulling out like wins, and I don't think that either of them are too likely. just because we don't expect much out of David Culley, and B, this team was not forcing any turnovers last year. So how is having a game manager quarterback that protects the ball going to be much of a big deal when you can't force turnovers yourself?
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem for them to figure out the identity of that team. It's so confusing and hard to decipher. Um,
What did you
going
think of
through
the drafts?
Yeah, me going through the draft. You and I both had Davis Mills ranked as our 10th quarterback. It was like one of the times in our rankings where a guy that wasn't like one or in the top three we like matched up with. It was just, yeah, this guy is the 10th best quarterback. So I thought that was funny. And so many other guys were still on the board at that spot where you could take a position of need, take an offensive lineman, take an interior defensive lineman, take an edge rusher to replace J.J. Watt there, and they decide to go quarterback, which doesn't make any sense. If you wanted to go quarterback, then trade that pick away and get more picks in the later rounds. I think Sam Ehlinger would have been a better pick for them. At least Sam Ehlinger has some experience running for his life around at Texas, making wild plays.
There you go.
He could have stayed in the same state and done it all over again.
You know what was funny? Something. Sorry, this is just like an interjection here that isn't very logical, but I'm thinking about it right now, and I want to mention it to you before I forget. Like I was looking at, I had a video pulled up of last year's, like a guy going over like a way too early 2021 mock draft. So I was looking at it to see if he got any of the picks right for this year, and honestly, the order to how the safeties were ranked last year for the 2021 class made more sense than how the safeties were ranked this year for the 2021 class.
That's hilarious.
It's just like all over the place. It was just like Trevon Moehrig was not on the thing at all, and it was just like, yes, thank you, that's much better.
Oh man. At the state, they had another pick in the third round that I think they should have also traded back or take a position of need here. They did not take a single position of need until the sixth round. It's mind-boggling. But they take Nico Collins. I like what I saw of Nico Collins. I just don't understand why you take another receiver unless you're planning on just shipping everyone that has an ounce of talent in them off. Like send Brandon Cooks away, try to get some mid-round draft picks for him, try to get anything. But it wouldn't make any sense. You're making your team 1,000 times worse because you're getting rid of the one guy that has shown production.
No, I agree with you. And like I said, I literally think it's some sort of weird idea that they need a bigger bodied receiver, which I don't think you need. I don't think you need it, but that's what they want, because that's the only reason that they would do this. Because I don't think they say they dislike their receivers. I think they're literally just making this pick saying, yeah, we want a guy who has more weight on his bones, more meat on his bones.
I mean, if you're going to have Davis Mills be your quarterback, you might as well just bring him in so he could chuck up jump balls like he did at Stanford.
Yeah.
And then Brevin Jordan, again, loaded tight end room, and they bring in another guy. I'm a little bit higher on Brevin Jordan than I think you are, but he's going to have no chance to succeed in Houston.
Here's
how stacked that room is.
No. I'm not low. I didn't dislike Brevin Jordan. But what do you like? How much? Yeah, that's exactly kind of where I was going. How much do you expect him to actually touch the field in this offense?
I don't expect him to at all. That's why I don't understand the pick. Just maybe he'll get in and they'll have him lined up out wide as like a receiver on some place so he can be another big body receiver. But if that's the point, why would you even draft Nico Collins if you planned on taking an athletic tight end that you could split out wide? It doesn't make any sense.
Nope. Doesn't at all.
Garrett Wallow, I watched him way early in the offseason when we went over linebackers. And I liked what I saw from him. I think I had him ranked 13th for linebackers for me. Great value pick there, but again, loaded linebacker room. Why? Why take him? And then they get to the sixth round and take Lopez out of Arizona. I liked his tape. I liked what I saw. They take their first position of need. It's their only smart pick, and when your only smart pick is in the sixth round. Especially when you only had 5 picks overall, and your smart one is in
And
the
your
sixth
team
round.
was already terrible last year,
It,
and you're losing like your best talent on the team, like at multiple positions. You're losing your
yeah,
best edge rusher. You're losing your arguably best wide receiver. You're probably gonna lose your best quarterback. Like it's like, what is going on?
yeah, and then the UDFA's that I saw from them, it's the wide receivers. It's just why? Why are you bringing more in? You could bring so many younger guys, to have a shot at competition at other positions, like O line. Just bring in so many offensive linemen because you didn't draft any for some reason. So just bring in 10 guys, 10 undrafted linemen. Just be like, okay. I mean, we don't plan on protecting our quarterback anyway, so why not just have a bunch of guys here that we could just plug and play whenever we want?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at
Their
least
draft
I
class.
mean, with how the draft went, I'm surprised they even signed two undrafted rookie linemen. So I mean, maybe we
Hmm.
should just be happy about that. Because, geez, I don't know.
Yeah, their draft class really frustrates me.
Uh Man,
What do
after
you?
after having our conversation, I was thinking about giving them one extra game, but actually I think I'm taking it away now. I don't even want to give it to them. I
Um,
was like, that's a ridiculous prediction, and now that we're talking it over, I'm just like, yeah, no, it's not. I was like,
yeah.
I was thinking, am I being over dramatic with this? But really, with what they did, it doesn't make any sense. You want to
Hmm.
go first for schedule, or you want me to go first?
I've been going
Oh,
first the
sorry,
past two.
sorry. They're over. Okay, I sorry. Over under is 4.5. What were you gonna say?
That's ridiculous. I went first the first two, so why don't you take point here?
Okay. Literally every division game, I just have them straight up losing. I'll tell you that now. I think they're gonna lose to the Patriots. These are their home games. I think they'll lose to the Patriots at home, lose to the Rams at home, lose to the Chargers at home, and then I think there's 3 games at home that they could potentially pull out. I think they could beat the Jets. I think they could beat the Seahawks because I actually think the Seahawks are going to be worse from what I'm seeing. The problem is that these early episodes, there's definitely teams that I probably haven't been looking at enough to understand like where their team sits at now as compared to last season. Whereas later, like when we really get to the latter teams, like the teams in the championship games and in the Super Bowl, probably know them a lot better because we will have gone through like 28 teams prior to that. So it'll really be easier to get their, I think, win totals accurate. Right now, like it is tough, but just thinking about Seattle, really basic level, me trying to like think about it in my head, I really feel like they lost a lot. And they could be looking at one of their worst years in a while, and they could lose some games that they really have no business losing. And then to the Panthers, I said Panthers toss up as well. I'd lean more towards the Panthers winning that game, but I think there is still potential. I don't really know how everything's going to turn out. I think Sam Darnold will look a lot better in Carolina than he did with the Jets after seeing what the Jets did to help him the other day. I mean, which was absolutely nothing. Um,
Hmm.
and then on the road, I'll just tell you Colts, Jags, Titans, Bills, Browns, Dolphins, 49ers, all straight up L's. The only one that, once again, I'm going to give him as sort of a toss up game, but even then, I'm probably being generous here, is I think that, I don't know why, Cliff Kingsbury just gets his guys to like do some like win games that they shouldn't and lose games that they shouldn't as well. Like they're just
Hmm.
one of the weirdest hot and cold teams ever. And I don't know why I feel like the Cardinals could come into that game on a cold weekend like being like there's no way we lose to these guys and then actually managing to lose. So I have that as a toss-up game for them as well. This roster is not good enough for me to straight up say that they're going to beat anyone, like really, but I gave them 4 toss-up games, so split the toss-up games 50-50, and that's 2 wins for them. I'd say 2-15. So I mean, I'd go under, but I mean, honestly, when you're talking about a win total is 4.5 in a league like the NFL, even if you're a really bad team, you could luck your way to 5 wins in a 17-game season.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to bet on this just because that win total is literally the lowest in the league. The Texans have the
Hmm.
lowest projected win total in the league.
Yeah. It's just they could find themselves just a bunch of teams playing down to their competition. against them and get 5, 6 wins just because teams think, oh,
Yeah,
this is going to be easy. They might
literally in
not
the
even.
last minute of the game.
Yeah, not that it matters because they don't have their first round draft pick, but just they could not get the first overall pick because of them just we could teams going in there, we can beat these guys, and then getting their butts kicked because they're playing down to their
That's what
competition.
I'm saying. It's just like the owner's looking at it like, no matter who I hire, there's no way we win this year. So we'll just hire David Culley to fire David Culley. That
Mhm.
it. If there's ever an example of it, this feels like basically as close to it as it could get.
Yeah. For their schedule for me, all their division games, I have them straight up losing all of them. And then New
Glad we're
England
on the same
L,
page.
yeah, New England L, Jets L, Rams L, Seahawks L, Chargers L, Carolina L. Don't attend a Texans game; they're not gonna win one at home.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
uh, and then for away games, lose to Buffalo, lose to Cleveland, lose to Miami, lose to San Fran. Their one win's gonna come against Arizona because
Wow, you agree with me. Holy crap.
Arizona plays down to their plays up and down to their competition insanely. Like
Wow, you gave
Arizona,
them one win though. Oh man. You don't think they're gonna pull
yeah.
one at home? I think they have to pull one at
If
home. I don't know
if
which
they do,
I don't know which it'll be, but I think they
no,
have to pull one at home, which is why I say two
I
wins.
don't. Yeah, I don't want to pin down a certain one at home, just because I think it could be any of those games. They pull one out. It maybe except the Jags. I don't see them. I don't see them beating the Jags just because the Jags are a young, scrappy team that like
Wait.
I can't see Trevor Lawrence or anyone on that team because most of them are unproven. They don't have a lot of vets on
Oh,
that team.
okay. I get what you're saying. You're saying that all the good teams could just be like taking it easy because they think it's going to be
Yes.
an easy game, and then all the bad teams are going to like understand that they still have to play and they're going to
Hmm.
beat them, and the Jags are the only in between team that aren't good enough to be like, oh, we're really good. We can just not worry about these guys, but also not bad enough where they actually
Yes.
have the potential to lose to them. That makes sense
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if they lose to like Tennessee or if if they beat Tennessee or something wild like that.
Oh yeah, that would be insane. That'd be must-watch television.
Jeez, man, this, I, I'm excited to watch Tyrod Taylor though. I'm
Oh
excited to
yes,
watch Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod being a starter is always a good time. I love when he's playing quarterback.
Man,
I just hope they don't pull him out to put Davis Mills in or something stupid.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll even matter if they choose to do that. Davis Mills will not last long at all. I really don't think so. And I think he'll be the third quarterback on the depth chart anyways. I don't even think they'll question putting Davis Mills in. If they question taking Tyrod out, it'll only be for Finley. I would really
I
bet
would
that
hope so.
Mills
I
is
would
the
hope
third
so.
quarterback on roster.
Because I don't like not that I don't like Davis Mills as a player. It's just his
I don't.
uh he he's going to get hurt if they play him because he can't move. He's going to just get rocked in the pocket every time. Ryan Finley has the ability to move and maneuver and get away from guys.
Need to give them credit for their one good move. I probably basically just glossed over it earlier, but the Marcus Cannon trade, that is one good move they made.
Mhm.
Oh jeez. Yeah, no, this is rough. Like I said to you though, if we didn't have to have the Super Bowl champion on opening night, the game that I would want to see on opening night, even though I don't even think they're not even on each other's schedules, but like dream scenario, somehow the NFL lets this happen. If I could have one game be the opening night game of Thursday night football in like early September, week 1, before all the other games, my game of choice would be Lions Texans.
Just so one team has to finish with a win.
Just so that we know one of them started 1-0. If they tied, that would be hilarious too. But one of them has to
Poetry.
start
That
with a
would
win.
that would be poetry.
Because I think when we get to the Lions, we're gonna be like, oh geez. But luckily they're another team with like a. What's nice about the bad teams this year is they feel like they have like these floor quarterbacks, which kind of help them. Like I feel like it's gonna be pretty hard for a team to go 0-16. Or sorry, 0-17 now this year. Like I really don't expect it because I feel like every team, even like the really bad teams, all at least have like solid floor quarterbacks. Whereas like some teams walk into the season with like Mike Glennon before, and it was like, ah, that's a warning, that's a bad sign. But like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like comfortable with people like Tyrod Taylor and Jared Goff to at least get you some wins.
Yes. Yes.
All right, all set.
Yeah, I think we can cut it here.
Great.